Kitty Cat's excited to see everyone. She just jumped on here to be live. Come on here, kitty kitty. She's so happy today. Oh my gosh, she's so happy today. I was gonna light a candle to just honor everyone's life and life in general, and so much that the human race is going through right now. And I'll take a deep breath. Kitty Cat doesn't like the candle. Kitty Cat, everyone wants to say hi to you. Ah! Oh, she did. She is really spunky today. I love her so much. Come on, you know you want to say hi to everyone. You know you do. You're a little ham. You're a little ham and a half. This is our 3rd year anniversary. Ah! She did not climb enough trees lately. I've been keeping her in because of the coyotes. Anyway, love languages, everyone. Love. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for the like. All right. We're gonna talk about physical touch tonight. Chapter 8, love language number 5, physical touch. We have long known that physical touch is a way of communicating emotional love. Numerous research projects in the area of child development. Numerous research projects in the area of child development have reached that conclusion. Babies who are held, hugged, and kissed develop a healthier emotional life than those who are left for long periods of time without physical contact. Physical touch is also a powerful vehicle for communicating marital love. Holding hands, kissing, embracing, and sexual intercourse are all ways of communicating emotional love to one's spouse. For some individuals, physical touch is their primary love language. Without it, they feel unloved. With it, their emotional tank is filled and they feel secure in the love of their spouse. The power of touch. Of the 5 senses, touching, unlike the other 4, is not limited to one localized area of the body. Tiny tactile receptors are located throughout the body. When those receptors are touched or pressed, nerves carry impulses to the brain. The brain interprets these impulses, and we perceive that the thing that touched us is warm or cold, hard or soft. It causes pain or pleasure. We may also interpret it as loving or hostile. Some parts of the body are more sensitive than others. The difference is due to the fact that the tiny tactile receptors are not scattered evenly over the body, but arranged in clusters. Thus, the tip of the tongue is highly sensitive to touch, whereas the back of the shoulders is the least sensitive. What? The back of my shoulders is so sensitive. The tips of the fingers and the tips of the nose are other extremely sensitive areas. Our purpose, however, is not to understand the neurological basis of the sense of touch, but rather its psychological importance. How's the kitty cat doing? I see you, baby. I love you, baby. She likes listening to the reading. Sorry I picked you up without you wanting to be picked up. Was that a bad tactile response that you had? What are you doing? You gonna come join us? Yay! Come join us, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Physical touch can make or break a relationship. It can communicate hate or love. To the person whose primary love language is physical touch, the message will be far louder than the words, I hate you or I love you. A slap in the face is detrimental to any child, but it is devastating to a child whose primary love language is touch. A tender hug communicates love to any child, but it shouts love to the child whose primary love language is physical touch. The same is true of adults. In marriage, the touch of love may take many forms. Since touch receptors are located throughout the body, lovingly touching your spouse almost anywhere can be an expression of love. That does not mean that all touches are created equal. Some will bring more pleasure to your spouse than others. Your best instructor is your spouse, of course. After all, she or he is the one you are seeking to love. She or he knows best what she or he perceives as a loving touch. Don't insist on touching her in your way and in your time. Learn to speak her love dialect. Your spouse may find some touches uncomfortable or irritating. To insist on continuing those touches is to communicate the opposite of love. It is saying that you are not sensitive to her needs and that you care little about her perceptions of what is pleasant or his. Don't make the mistake of believing that the touch that brings pleasure to you will also bring pleasure to her. Yeah. Kevin, what's up? In and out. Hey, kitty, kitty. I love you. Love touches may be explicit and demand your full attention, such as in a back rub, or sexual foreplay. You want to come up here? Do you want to come up here? Culminating in intercourse. On the other hand, love touches may be implicit and require only a moment, such as putting your hand on his shoulder as you pour a cup of coffee or rubbing your body against him as you pass in the kitchen. I see you, baby. Good. Explicit love touches obviously take more time, not only in actual touching, but in developing your understanding of how to communicate love to your spouse this way. If a back massage communicates love loudly to your spouse, hey, there she is. Hey, baby. Hi. Then the time, money, and energy you spend in learning to be a good masseur or masseuse will be well invested. If sexual intercourse is your mate's primary dialect, reading about and discussing the art of sexual lovemaking will enhance your expression of love. Implicit love touches require little time but much thought, especially if physical touch is not your primary love language, and if you did not grow up in a touching family. Sitting close to each other as you watch your favorite television program requires no additional time but may communicate your love loudly. Me, me, me. Touching your spouse as you walk through the room where he or she is sitting takes only a moment. Touching each other when you leave the house and again when you return may involve only a brief kiss or hug, but will speak volumes to your spouse. Once you discover that physical touch is the primary love language of your spouse, you are limited only by your imagination on ways to express love. Coming up with new ways and places to touch can be an exciting challenge. If you have not been an under the table toucher, you might find that it will add a spark to your dining out. If you are not accustomed to holding hands in public, you may find that you can fill your spouse's emotional love tank as you stroll through the parking lot. If you don't normally kiss as soon as you get into the car together, you may find that it will greatly enhance your travels. Hugging your spouse before she goes shopping may not only express love, it may bring her home sooner. Try new touches in new places and let your spouse give you feedback on whether he finds it pleasurable or not. Remember, he has the final word, or she. You are learning to speak each other's language. The body is for touching. Whatever there is of me resides in my body. To touch my body is to touch me. To withdraw from my body is to distance yourself from me emotionally. In our society, shaking hands is a way of communicating openness and social closeness to another individual. When on rare occasions one man refuses to shake hands with another, it communicates a message that things are not right in their relationship. All societies have some form of physical touching as a means of social greeting. The average American male may not feel comfortable with the European bear hugging kiss, but in Europe, that serves the same function as our shaking hands. Now, this was written pre lockdown. There are appropriate and inappropriate ways to touch members of the opposite sex in every society. The recent attention to sexual harassment has highlighted the inappropriate ways. Within marriage, however, what is appropriate and inappropriate touching is determined by the couple themselves within certain broad guidelines. Physical abuse is, of course, deemed inappropriate by society, and social organizations have been formed to help the battered wife and the battered husband. Clearly, our bodies are for touching, but not for abuse. This age is characterized as the age of sexual openness and freedom. With that freedom, we have demonstrated that the open marriage, where both spouses are free to have sexual intimacies with other individuals, is fanciful. Those who do not object on moral grounds eventually object on emotional grounds. Something about our need for intimacy and love does not allow us to give our spouse such freedom. The emotional pain is deep and intimacy evaporates when we are aware that our spouse is involved with someone else sexually. Counselors' files are filled with records of husbands and wives who are trying to grapple with the emotional trauma of an unfaithful spouse. That trauma, however, is compounded for the individual whose primary love language is physical touch. That for which he longs so deeply, love expressed by physical touch, is now being given to another. His emotional love tank is not only empty, it has been riddled by an explosion. It will take massive repairs for those emotional needs to be met. How y'all doing out there? And how's the kitty cat? Crisis and physical touch. Kitty cat's holding my hand right now. Wish you could see. Can you see? Can't see. She's right here. That's her head right there. Crisis and physical touch. Almost instinctively, in a time of crisis, we hug one another. Why? Because physical touch is a powerful communicator of love. In a time of crisis, more than anything, we need to feel loved. We cannot always change events, but we can survive if we feel loved. All marriages will experience crisis. The death of parents is inevitable. Automobile accidents cripple and kill thousands each year. Disease is no respecter of persons. Disappointments are a part of life. The most important thing you can do for your mate in a time of crisis is to love him or her. Nothing is more important than holding her or him as they cry. Your words may mean little, but physical touch will communicate that you care. Crisis provides a unique opportunity for expressing love. Your tender touches will be remembered long after the crisis has passed. Your failure to touch may never be forgotten. How's it going, kitty cat? She's falling asleep to the storytelling. It's so cute. Quote unquote, marriage is not supposed to be this way. Since my first visit to the West Palm Beach, Florida, many years ago, I have always welcomed invitations to lead marriage seminars in that area. It was on one such occasion that I met Pete and Patsy. They were not native to Florida. Few are. But they had lived there for 20 years and called West Palm Beach home. My seminar was sponsored by a local church. And as we drove from the airport, the pastor informed me that Pete and Patsy had requested that I spend the night at their house. I tried to act excited, but knew from experience that such a request usually meant a late night counseling session. As the pastor and I entered this spacious, well-decorated Spanish-style house, I was introduced to Patsy and to Charlie, the family cat. As I looked around the house, I had the hunch that A, Pete's business had done very well, B, his father had left him a huge inheritance, or C, he was hopelessly in debt. Hey, Larry! We are reading the 5 love language, and we're up to, I think it's the 5th one, physical touch. Later, I discovered that my first hunch was correct. When I was shown the guest room, I observed that Charlie, the cat, was making himself at home, stretched across the bed where I was to be sleeping. I thought, this cat has it made. We're reading about a kitty cat, and there's a kitty cat right next to me. All is well, Larry. Thanks for saying hi. Pete came home shortly, and we had a delightful snack together and agreed that we would have dinner after the seminar. Several hours later, while sharing dinner, I kept waiting for the counseling session to begin. It never did. Instead, I found Pete and Patsy to be a healthy, happily married couple. For a counselor, that is an oddity. I was eager to discover their secret, but being extremely tired and knowing that Pete and Patsy were going to drive me to the airport the next day, I declined to do my probing when I was feeling. I decided to do my probing when I was feeling more alert. I had the opportunity as we were driving to the airport, 45 minutes away. Pete and Patsy began to tell me their story. In the early years of their marriage, they had tremendous difficulties. They had grown up in the same community, attended the same church, and graduated from the same high school. Their parents had similar lifestyles and values. Pete and Patsy enjoyed many of the same things. They both liked tennis and boating, and they often talked about how many interests they held in common. They seemed to possess all the commonalities that are supposed to assure fewer conflicts in marriage. Oh, I'm getting sleepy. They began dating in their senior year of high school. They attended separate colleges but saw each other frequently and were married 3 weeks after he received his degree in business and she a degree in sociology. 2 months later, they moved to Florida where Pete had been offered a good job. They were 2,000 miles from their nearest relative. They could enjoy a honeymoon forever. The first 3 months were exciting, moving, finding a new apartment, enjoying life together. They were about 6 months into the marriage when Patsy began to feel that Pete was withdrawing from her. He was working longer hours, and when he was at home, he spent considerable time with the computer. When she finally expressed her feelings that he was avoiding her, Pete told her that he was not avoiding her, but simply trying to stay on top of his job. He said that she didn't understand the pressure he was under and how important it was that he do well in his first year on the job. Patsy wasn't pleased, but she decided to give him space. Patsy began to develop friendships with other wives who lived in the apartment complex. Often when she knew Pete was going to work late, she would go shopping with one of her friends instead of going straight home after work. Sometimes she was not at home when Pete arrived. That annoyed him greatly, and he accused her of being thoughtless and irresponsible. Patsy retorted, "Who is irresponsible? You don't even call me and let me know when you'll be home. How can I be here for you when I don't even know when you'll be here? And when you are here, you spend all your time with that dumb computer. You don't need a wife. All you need is a computer." Baby, 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 baby. To which Pete loudly responded, "I do need a wife. Don't you understand? That's the whole point. I do need a wife." But Patsy did not understand. She was extremely confused. In her search for answers, she went to the public library and checked out several books on marriage. Marriage is not supposed to be this way, she reasoned. I have to find an answer to our situation. When Pete went to the computer room, Patsy would pick up her book. In fact, on many evenings, she read until midnight. On his way to bed, Pete would notice her and make sarcastic comments such as, if you read that much in college, you would have made straight A's. What a jerk. Patsy would respond, I'm not in college, I'm in marriage, and right now I'd be satisfied with a C. Pete went to bed without so much as a second glance. Dang. Okay, I need to take a snack break. But there's only like 2 more pages. I'm gonna have some golden berries as a snack break. Kitty cat, are you gonna say hi to the people? All right, let's see what these golden berries have in them. Magnesium, phosphorus, vitamin A, 30%. Wow. Fiber, 20%. Potassium, vitamin C, manganese, zinc, calcium. Those are all 10% or less. Protein, 2 grams. Hello. Good day from Aussie. Stephen McGonagall. Oh, that's spicy. Tangy, I mean. Baby. Wait, you want to say hi to Australia, kitty cat? All right. At the end of the first year, Patsy was desperate. She had mentioned it before, but this time she calmly said to Pete, I am going to find a marriage counselor. Do you want to go with me? But Pete answered, I don't need a marriage counselor. I don't have time to go to a marriage counselor. I can't afford a marriage counselor. Then I'll go alone, said Patsy. Fine. You're the one who needs counseling anyway. Oh, Pete. The conversation was over. Patsy felt totally alone. But the next week, she made an appointment with a marriage counselor. After 3 sessions, the counselor called Pete and asked if he would be willing to come in to talk about his perspective on their marriage. Pete agreed, and the process of healing began. 6 months later, they left the counselor's office with a new marriage. I said to Pete and Patsy, what did you learn in counseling that turned your marriage around? In essence, Dr. Chapman, Pete said, we learned to speak each other's love language. The counselor did not use that term, but as you gave the lectures today, the lights came on. My mind raced back to our counseling experience, and I realized that's exactly what happened to us. We finally learned to speak each other's love language. So what is your love language, Pete? I asked. Physical touch, he said without hesitation. Physical touch for sure, said Patsy. And yours, Patsy? Quality time, Dr. Chapman. That's what I was crying for in those days when he was spending all his time with his job and his computer. How did you learn that physical touch was Pete's love language? It took a while, Patsy said. Little by little, it began to come out in the counseling. At first, I don't think Pete even realized it. She's right, Pete said. I was so insecure in my own sense of self-worth that it took forever for me to be willing to identify and acknowledge that her lack of touch had caused me to withdraw. I never told her that I wanted to be touched, although I was crying inside for her to reach out and touch me. In our dating relationship, I had always taken the initiative in hugging, kissing, and holding hands, but she had always been responsive. I felt that she loved me, but after we got married, there were times that I reached out to her physically, and she was not responsive. Maybe with her new job responsibilities, she was too tired. I don't know. But I took it personally. I felt that she didn't find me attractive. Then I decided I would not take the initiative because I didn't want to be rejected. So I waited to see how long it would be before she'd initiate a kiss or a touch or sexual intercourse. Once I waited 6 weeks before she touched me at all. I waited for 6 weeks before she touched me at all. Oh my gosh. I found it unbearable. My withdrawal was to stay away from the pain I felt when I was with her. I felt rejected, unwanted, and unloved. One more page. I have to eat more golden berries. I'll be right back. Then, as he said, I had no idea that was what he was feeling. I knew that he was not reaching out to me. We were not kissing and hugging as we had done earlier, but I just assumed that since we were married, that was not as important to him now. I knew that he was under pressure with his job. I had no idea that he wanted me to take the initiative. I would go weeks without touching him. It didn't cross my mind. I was preparing meals, keeping the house clean, doing the laundry, and trying to stay out of his way. I honestly didn't know what else I could be doing. I could not understand his withdrawal or his lack of attention to me. It's not that I dislike touching, it's just that it was never that important to me. Spending time with me is what made me feel loved and appreciated, giving me attention. It really didn't matter whether we hugged or kissed. As long as he gave me attention, I felt loved. It took us a long time to discover the root of the problem, but once we discovered that we were not meeting each other's emotional need for love, we began to turn things around. Once I began to take the initiative in giving him physical touch, it's amazing what happened. His personality, his spirit changed drastically. I had a new husband. Once he became convinced that I really did love him, then he began to become more responsive to my needs. It's it sounded like I was like once, but it's once he became convinced that I really did love him, then he began to become more responsive to my needs. What amazed me at the seminar today, he added, was the way your lecture on love languages carried me back all these years to that experience. You said in 20 minutes what it took us 6 months to learn. Well, I said, it's not how fast you learn it, but how well you learn it that matters. And obviously, you have learned it well. Pete is only one of many individuals for whom physical touch is the primary love language. Emotionally, they yearn for their spouse to reach out and touch them physically. Running the hand through the hair, giving a back rub, holding hands, embracing, sexual intercourse, all of those and other love touches are the emotional lifeline of the person for whom physical touch is the primary love language. Your turn. Recall some touching times that aren't sexual, that enhanced intimacy between the two of you. What made these times special? If your spouse's love language is physical touch, 1. As you walk from the car to go shopping, reach out and hold your spouse's hand. 2. While eating together, let your knee or foot drift over and touch your spouse. 3. Walk up to your spouse and say, have I told you lately I love you? Take her in your arms and hug her while you rub her back and continue, you are the greatest. Resist the temptation to rush to the bedroom. Untangle yourself and move on to the next thing. While your spouse is seated, walk up behind her and give her a shoulder massage. That's number 4. Number 5, when you sit together in church, when the minister calls for prayer, reach over and hold your spouse's hand. Number 6, initiate sex by giving your spouse a foot massage. Continue to other parts of the body as long as it brings pleasure to your spouse. So specific. 7, when family or friends are visiting, touch your spouse in their presence. Putting your arm around him as you stand talking or simply placing your hand on her shoulder says, even with all these people in our house, I still love you. When your spouse arrives at home, meet him or her one step earlier than usual and give your mate a big welcome home. The point is to vary the routine and enhance even a small touching experience. Nice. All right, we're done with chapter 8. Any questions, any comments? There are how many more chapters? 5 more chapters. All right, love you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the heart. Kitty cat, you want to say goodbye? My baby. She'll get mad at me for picking her up. All right. Later. Please check out some of my other videos and please give this a like and the other ones a like because hopefully you will like them. And check out every other chapter if you want. I've done 1 through 6. All the links are in the description below. And so is that join button. To join and be a member, I'm trying to get 10 members on my channel by December 1st. It'd be so amazing if it was you. It's just $2.99 a month. Right, kitty cat? Are you ready to say goodbye to everyone? No. She did get a couple of videos posted about her, though, this week. All right, then. See you at Golden Drops tomorrow if you're in Atlanta, 3 to 5. For some original music and a couple of covers. And yeah, I'll see you next time.